What's up, everybody? Renfail here. Hopefully you're doing well. I just finished Eternal Strands on the stream here a little bit ago, which means it's time for me to do my final review for the game. Bear in mind that if you haven't already watched the playthrough, you can tune in the playlist down below. We did everything live streamed, just like I do all the other games that I play. So you can sink your teeth in and watch this. So this is the debut game from Yellow Brick Studios, and it's a little bit of an indie action RPG game. If you haven't already watched my early thoughts video and my first impressions video, we played the demo first, did a first impressions video, then we did the first stream, then I did my early thoughts videos. Normally I do an initial review after 20-25 hours of the game, but in this case I actually finished the game right around 25 hours of gameplay, so I'm just rolling right into the final review as opposed to breaking it into the 3 reviews that I normally do, which is usually early thoughts, initial review, and final review. However, I would like to stipulate that my playthrough of the game was 25 hours because I chose to leave a ton of content on the table because I am on a schedule to move on to other things. I got lots of irons in the work here, and I did not try to play a completionist version of this game. I also played on easy mode, so those are the caveats you need to understand. I've watched people talk about on Twitter X and elsewhere that they are getting around 40 hours doing a completionist version of the game. So understand that you're probably going to get between 25 and 40 hours of gameplay out of this game, depending on whether or not you are going for the easy road like I did and only playing the main quests, which is what I did, or if you're doing the completionist version, talking to all the NPCs, going through all the dialogue options, doing all the side quests and everything else, and doing lots of monster hunting, which I chose not to do. So that being said, let's dive into my review. So, great game. I will spoil something about the end of the game slightly, in the sense that, well, no, I won't. I won't actually I won't actually spoil anything. I'll rephrase that. Let's just talk the whole thing, and I'll work my way through it. So what are some of the things I really love about the game? So first and foremost, the voice acting in this game is absolutely phenomenal. The writing is really good. Visually, the game is beautiful. The combat, well, let's talk about the visuals some more. One of the things I love about the visual system is the amount of variation there is to be had in the crafting system. So I wore, there's lots of different armor sets and different types of shields and weapons you can use, and there's different types of bows. I only found a couple. I mean, there's more. Again, I did not do a completionist version. Lots of different types of weapons. Here, getting into lots of different types of head armors, right? Lots of different types of chest plates and so on. And all of them have pros and cons and stats. And the cool thing is that if you decide you're going to craft something, they all have different, all these different stats. So let's go over here to the chest plate as an example. Say I want to reforge this. So you go down here and look at all of these things change the colors of your armors. And different pieces change the highlights, so on and so forth. This is the belt as an example. So every single crafting item changes the look of the gear in the game, as well as modifies the stats. So you've got armor, heat resistance, cold resistance, weight, and then there's things like bonus armor, there's things like weight reduction, there's things like max magic, there's things like hit point bonuses. So you can create the exact set of gear that you want with the exact look and feel of the armor that you want, based entirely upon whether or not you want to go out there and gather all the materials to craft things for yourself. It's a super in-depth crafting system, and it's probably the highlight of this whole game for me personally. I think that this is a really cool crafting system. You can upgrade, you can reforge, you can find new pieces, you can constantly mix and match and change it up. The base camp reminds me a little bit of like Red Dead Redemption 2, in the sense that like all of these, like you can upgrade all the different stations throughout the game to give you different stats and different tiers. Like if you want max level, the max amount of hit hit point potions. I always have a hard time saying that. If you want the max amount of potions for hit points, you want to upgrade Leon's Archive. If you want the max amount of magic, and actually for questline, you will have to max out Dom's Atelier to get the max powers, because that's part of the actual main questline. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So lots of cool stuff here, and one of the big things is we're going to go in here. I just want to talk here for a second.
I don't know
if it's going to show you.
The Herald, but I think we're both glad it's finally shot.
I'm going to skip past this because that's not actually what I wanted to show you. The big thing is that when you go in to have dialogues with main characters for quests, I don't want to spoil any of the storyline in this review. You'll have a main talking point, which is for the quest, and then you'll have anywhere from 3 or 4 to like half a dozen, maybe 6 or 8 different options that you can go through, which give you fluff dialogue and additional story about the things around you. And that's one of the areas where I didn't pursue a lot. I was not trying to do a completionist version of the game, so I wasn't going through and having super in-depth conversations with everybody because I'm on a different path than other players. So if you want to take the time, there is a rich, deep world here beyond what the game itself presents you with, but you have to be willing to talk to all of the NPCs. And I know for some people, because I remember hearing the same complaints with like Dragon Age Veilguard, some people don't like that because they look at it and say, oh, it's a friendship simulator and I don't want to have to deal with all that dialogue. But for those of you who do want to deal with all that dialogue, it's there for you to go through. So those are all the things I really liked. Let's talk about some of the things I didn't really care for. So I am not a big fan of like Dark Souls games. And for the most part, the boss fights in this game were, at least on easy mode, were not overly challenging once you figured out the strategies. But that part of the game got really repetitive for me because here in my quest journal, one of the cool things, like if you finish the main storyline, which I did, it leaves all of your side quests in here. So I still have all these companion quests I could do if I wanted to, but then I have all these epic hunt quests. I would never willingly do these because I'm just not a fan of like constant boss fights. It's not. This is where like the people who love like Shadow of the Colossus and Dragon's Dogma 2 and Elden Ring and that kind of stuff, you're gonna love this kind of stuff. That was not my favorite part of the game. For me, the favorite part of the game was definitely the story and the dialogue and the beauty of the environments. I like the art, the voiceovers, all that stuff was really fun for me. I love the crafting system. The combat for me was interesting. There is obviously a complex magic system here at play. Let me just go out into one of these zones really quick so that we can kind of take a look at this really quick. I did not try to get all of the magical powers in the game because that requires you to kill all the big bad bosses in the game because you're harvesting magic powers from those big bad bosses. So I ended up leaving a few magical abilities on the table. 2, it looks like. The rest of them I got. So in terms of weapons, you've got sword and shield, which is represented by your sword and shield here. And then you have your bow, which is here. And then you have your two-handed weapon, which is here. And they also all do different things, and it's fun to play around with. And then you have your different types of mana. So you have your Weaver's Strand to push and pull things. You have your Ensnaring Blast to pull things together and blow things up. This, you can teleport things. This is like an Ice Wall. Frost Mine, Drake's Breath, Ember Servant, which summons like a pet. Follows you around and helps out. So there's lots of different things you can do. Obviously, everything in this game is pretty much destructible and can be picked up and maneuvered and thrown or done things with like that. We just yeeted that out into the distance. A lot of that depends on the weight of the things. We can pick this up and bring it to us. Or we can push it away, like if I wanted to bring this in, and then drop it. Drop it on the floor right there. By the way, hear those footsteps? There's one of the arcs over there wandering around. I think it's the flame dude. It looks like it's the one with the flame on his head. Yeah. So he's over there if we wanted to go fight him. But the combat in the game for me was the least interesting part of this. Especially there was kind of some clunkiness with the target locking and the use of magic. It's an interesting concept. And I think it just, you know, this ultimately is really cool, but it does need some polish in my mind because it's not as quick or as fluid as I would like it to be. In addition, when you're moving around the landscape, you can climb everything, which sounds really cool, other than sometimes when you're doing boss mobs and stuff, you'll be running around the environment trying to stay away from the boss mobs' attacks, and you'll invariably accidentally run up against a wall, and suddenly, instead of running around in a circle, suddenly you're like clinging to a wall, and it ruins your movement, and then you're getting attacked because you're no longer moving away from the boss mob, and so you get nailed off the wall, and that can be kind of annoying. So there's some clankiness and some jankiness to that. That being said, it's not an unfun system, it's just a system that I think could use some more refinement. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And the one thing I will say is I had a great time with this game. The various ways that you can kill the boss mobs is unique, and then when it comes to harvesting the powers from the boss mobs, I think it's a cool system of where you have to read the journal. You gather data on the mobs, and then it goes into your codex, and then it teaches you how. It tells you in the journal what you need to do to harvest the powers from the various boss mobs. So to be like, hey, you need to, you know, knock these 3 horns off and then kill, you know, hit the wing. Like one of the dragons, I think, as an example, it's like defeat, you know, to harvest its powers, you have to cripple 1 wing, knock all the horns off. It'll then take to the sky, and while it's in the sky, you can then harvest the essence from it. So you have to be able to write it. So that's all complex, and you can do it, you know. And for those of you who enjoy that kind of stuff, it's there. However, I will say that the final boss fight of this game almost made me rage quit. You can watch the final stream of my session. It cost me multiple times, like probably, I don't know how long it took me. It was a long time. Multiple tries. It was very frustrating. And the reason is because on some of these encounters, you're expected to target specific body parts. And at least on the controller, I played on the Xbox Series X version of the game, you cannot use target locking to target specific body parts, which is one of the things I do appreciate about Dragon's Dogma 2, is that if you're supposed to like knock the horns off of a beast, you can target the horns to knock the horns off the beast, and then target a different body part using the target lock system and then moving around. It doesn't do that here, and that final boss fight was so bad that I ended up cheesing the boss fight because I went off and I looked at a YouTube video that showed someone else cheesing the boss fight, and I went, oh, I'm going to do that because I'm tired of trying to beat this on stream. I was getting very frustrated, very angry. My whole experience of the game up until that final boss fight was like, this is a really fun game apart from a little bit of jank, and then I got to the final boss fight and was like, I almost quit the stream and was like, no, I need to push through. I can't, you know. And ultimately we defeated it, and I do feel like that boss fight needs to be severely tweaked in terms of difficulty, and also they need to make, if you're watching Yellow Brick, you need to be able to allow for target locking of specific body parts. That's a big thing. So combat is my least favorite aspect about this game. The traversal is really cool, but again, like I said, when you're in combat and you're trying to run away from something and you accidentally hit the wall, or you accidentally jump on top of a rock, and it's like, no, I'm trying to run, and all of a sudden you're like climbing a surface, and it's like, no, stop, don't do that, I'm gonna get attacked and die. That's kind of annoying. But apart from that, like the fact that everything is destructible, I think was really cool. And then you get like special abilities like this. Being able to do that with my sword is cool, or I could do it with my two-handed weapon. We have some really cool stuff you can do. My bow, being able to like do flame casts and being able to like shoot fire is really cool. Being able to like throw down fireballs like that, detonate them, being able to like cast ice walls, kind of pretty cool. And then this one is really interesting. I got this towards the late of the game where you can like create this. Oh, we're about to have to fight something. And then all the ingredients that you can loot to pick up and get all your stuff. Here's what I wanted to show you is this this ability right here. Where you come in here and cast, like if we wanted to shoot this up into the sky like this. Let me jump into it. Whee! And it like yeets us. That could be kind of fun. And so if we wanted to get back up there quickly and easily, we could probably yeah. So that's a kind of a cool little ability that you can do. So the magic system is cool. The traversal system's cool. Being able to destroy everything is kind of groovy. You know, you get resources from most things. Being able to like destroy the environment and like use things to like cast at mobs and stuff is you throw at mobs. It's all again very interesting, very cool, but it could use some more polish. It feels a little bit janky in places. That being said, I had a really good time with this game. If I had to give it a score on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this a solid, yeah, like an 8. I'd give this like an 8 out of 10. Especially as a first outing for a studio. If they could fix the jank and then add like, you know, smooth up the combat, the target locking, all that kind of stuff. There was some instances of like where I'm trying to jump across spaces. If you don't hit the jump button at the exact specific moment, you're falling. There's some wonkiness with like the animation. Like you can't, like if you're wanting to block and you're doing attacks, like if you're attacking, you can't block until you finish the animation. Like it doesn't matter. Like I'm hitting block and it like won't do any block until it finishes the animation. And that can create a timing issue when you're fighting against mob. That's sort of like the jank I kind of talked about. So that aside, an 8 out of 10. Like I had a great time in this game. I definitely think you should try it. I played it on Game Pass on the Xbox, but it's available on, I believe, the Epic Store, PlayStation, Steam, Xbox, Game Pass. It's out there in lots of different places. You should try it out. I believe if you pay for it, it's like $40 US, 50 Canadian as of right now, which is, you know, shortly after launch. I think it's worth it. Getting 25 to 40 hours out of a game is pretty solid for an RPG, for an action RPG. Actually, I don't even know if I'd call this an RPG so much as like an action-adventure game, action-adventure RPG. But had a good time. Hopefully you guys had a great time watching the streams. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the game. Drop it down below. Stick around. We got lots of other stuff coming down the pipeline. We're rolling into Sniper Elite Resistance, then Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, then Avowed. We've got lots of stuff after that, like South of Midnight, Expedition 33, Atomfall, Tales of the Shire, Assassin's Creed, Shadows, Doom, The Dark Ages. So much coming up in 2025. So hopefully we'll see you in the next stream, which happens every single day at 6 a.m. Central on YouTube and Twitch, because I multi-stream in both places. And of course, there's about 7,300 videos here on the YouTube channel if you want to dive into the back catalog of games that I have played. Until then, everybody, stay safe and happy gaming.